Welcome back to the Scrapyard, guys. Tronic here, and we're back with another Marvel Snap video. Today we're looking at the top tips I want to give for beginners before anybody gets into this game. I feel everybody should know these facts. Before we get into it, I want to credit Canadian Alfredo, who posted the entire guide in Reddit. I want to make sure I say thank you to them for letting me turn this into a video. They're very, very kind. You should go check out that and the comments below it because there's a lot more in there. But I just wanted to pull out the top tips, so let's get straight into it. The first one is to see who will have initiative each turn. Look at the player's name that is glowing. That player has initiative. Now this is crucial to understand which cards go first. You can see it highlighted over there that the name Broad is highlighted versus the name Partnip is not. That means Broad cards are going to flip first, and this is a crucial piece of information that I believe the game doesn't actually teach you. So number one tip I give for new players would be this particular piece of advice. Second one is to decide who actually has initiative. Turn initiative is based on who is currently winning the most locations. If that is tied, it goes based on the highest power. If that is tied, it randomly picks. Now turn one, it just randomly picks, but after that it will decide. So you can see in my example over here, Partnip has 3 power on the leftmost location, while Broad has 2 power on the mid location. So technically they're drawing with 1 location each, but Partnip has 3, Broad has 2, so Partnip has initiative on the following turn. If you don't know by now, to win a match, you want to win the most locations. If you and your opponent tie with equal locations, the victor is determined by who has the most points total across all locations. If that is also a tie, the game simply ends in a tie and no player gains or loses cubes. There's an important exception there. Obviously, there's one location called Bar with no name that is the lowest power. So in this example here, you have very clearly see the player on the bottom has 2 locations. If I can use the other example there that's described is if this location is 22 versus 7 and this location was 22 versus 7, obviously the winner is decided by the third location, which would be the bottom player here, 14 versus 12. A true tie would be the 22 versus 7, 22 versus 7, and 14 and 14. Down, nobody wins, nobody loses any cubes, and that's what's called a true tie. Very important piece of information is card effects resolve in the order you play them. So make sure you pay attention to what needs to happen first. For example, Wolfsbane, the card I'm showing here, gets +2 power for each card in her lane. If you play her before another card in her lane, that card behind her won't count as an additional +2. So imagine you have 2 cards in a lane, you play Wolfsbane and a 4th card, filling up the entire slot. If she's the 3rd card you play, she will not get the +2 with the 4th card unrevealed. So you have to be very careful in how you order your cards. We've all made those mistakes, but I just want you to be on the lookout for those things. Always be paying attention to what order the cards will reveal. Currently, all cards are obtainable without spending real money. However, season pass cards are timed exclusives for 2 seasons. So a January season pass will be available in the collection track when the March season starts. How this will work is, for example, in the current season, Miles Morales is the, I suppose, paid for card if you want to buy the season pass. It's currently October, so he will become available in the collection track. You know, as you're just upgrading cards and you're moving up your collection track, he will be available as a random card in December. Before we keep going, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you've hit the thumbs up already. I also want to highlight my Discord channel as well, where there's a link down below. Make sure you hop in there. We do some giveaways, we do some there's free games in there. We have got some good chats, some deck recommendations. If you're enjoying Marvel Snap and you're enjoying my Marvel Snap content, feel free to hop in there, and there's lots of good stuff going on. This is one of the pieces of information I feel is very important for newer players. Leveling your cards will increase its visual effect. If you level a card 6 times, you have the ability to split the card. This allows you to unlock a new visual version of the card that get new styles, such as foils, inked, gold foil, and effects like sparkling or dots flowing from the card. To be very clear, this does not make the card any better. You are not leveling up your card to gain new powers or impacts on the game. The card does the exact same thing, whether it's the most basic version of the card or you got this slick gold version of Carnage. They do the exact same thing. You just have a cool new look to your card. Cards that have a grey border, not upgraded, or green border, 1 frame break upgrade, get targeted for booster acquisition at a higher rate than other cards at the end of the match. Otherwise, boosters are evenly randomized for each card in your deck. So if you're trying to grind out boosters to get a gold foil split, leave a copy of the card grey or green to target it. For consistency, make sure other cards are not green or grey. So if you've got a base variant of a card, for example the Hood here, and you really want to get this upgraded as many times as possible, you want to split it as many times as possible, Do not upgrade the card, leave it in its gray form. You have a higher chance of targeting that card to get more boosters to when you eventually want to upgrade it a load of times. Really good piece of information. The next one is, for every game you complete, you get 1 XP for the season pass for each turn completed and 10 XP for each location won. You get 5 XP for tied locations. This is not exactly hidden, but not that common either. So you will progress up the season pass, even if you're not accomplishing the actual targets. You'll just get natural experience towards that season pass. It's small, but it's good to know how much you're actually getting as you're playing. This is a really important one to know. Cards unlocked are divided into pools 1, 2, and 3. You cannot reach pool 2 or 3 without finishing previous pools. The order you unlock cards in each pool is random, but the pools are preset. Snap.fan and Snapzone have a breakdown of each pool cards. I pulled this image from marvelsnapzone.com. You should definitely check out that website. There are 46 cards in pool 1, 25 cards in pool 2, and 71 cards in pool 3. Those 46 cards are guaranteed. Now, they will come in random order, so you might get one pool 1 card at the very beginning that somebody else will not get until they've unlocked that 46th card. You cannot get duplicate cards in the upgrade track, but you can collect variant arts for cards once you own the base copy. So there is no danger of you getting multiple versions of the same card, for example, the same Electra base variant. But what you can get, perhaps, are random chance at getting a variant on that exact same Electra. You cannot get variants if you do not own the base card. As I mentioned earlier, currently there is no way to target a card for unlock or to buy them outright. The developers have collector tokens coming in the near future that will allow you to spend accumulated tokens to early unlock cards you have your eye on for a deck you want. So there will be coming, now there's no timeline on this, but there will be a way to target specific cards that you might have a deck you're trying to build that needs one specific card. You will be able to target that card in the future. Not right now. For now, you just have to go through the random unlocks as you progress. It is what it is, but in the future you will be able to unlock them. There are currently cards, there are currently a couple of cards, Thanos and Galactus, that are in the game but cannot be collected. You can only play them through random effects such as X-Mansion, which is a location, or Agent 13, which adds a random card to your hand as well. I don't know why that second as well is there. But Thanos and Galactus, two big massive cards that are in the game currently right now. You can end up with them in your hand, but you cannot build them in a deck. They just currently are not in any collection track yet. This is good if you're trying to complete challenges but you're not winning games. So you can get credit for challenges if you retreat after turn 4 or if your opponent snaps on any turn. So you will get credit, so you might have a challenge there. This can be helpful for missions like win a location with 4 cards or win a lane with less than 10 power. So you can actually complete these challenges even if you're losing the game. This is another key piece of information that I feel a lot of new players miss. There is a turn timer that is built into the end turn button. Keep an eye in it to avoid getting timed out. Missing a turn will make your next timer move rapidly unless you interact with cards to show the game you aren't AFK. It's quite hard to see. On the end turn button, there's a very, very slight discoloration. You'll see this timer slowly move down, and if you miss a turn or don't act in time, the next time around, the timer will actually move faster. Locations that state you cannot play cards here can still have cards added if you have cards like Nightcrawler or Squirrel Girl, cards like Doom or White Tiger, cards that generate a token in a different lane can end up in those. So locations like Kiln, where it says you can't play cards here after turn 4, means that you can't play a card there, but you can play a card in another lane that adds a card to a different lane. You can use this to catch your opponent off guard. Alternatively, there are locations that say cards can't be added here as the card will simply fail to be added there. So a location like Miniaturized Lab that says on turns 3, 4, and 5, no cards can be added here. No matter what you do, a card cannot be put in that location. Even if you play a card like we discussed, Nightcrawler or Squirrel Girl, that you can either move or, Squirrel Girl generates another 2 tokens in the other 2 lanes, a token will just not appear in Miniaturized Lab. This is a very, very subtle difference, but something you need to be very aware of. This was kind of 2 tips that I wanted to put into one. It's talking about retreating. Retreating is a strategy. Don't feel ashamed to leave a match if you don't feel confident when the opponent snaps. Climbing ranks to 100 is doable for any player if you manage your cubes well, and retreating is part of that. And you will be there where you're like, I think I can win, and the opponent has snapped, but you're a little bit behind on board already. There's no shame in just retreating there and then. Lose 1 cube and live to fight another day. There are two ways to retreat: retreat now and retreat later. If you press retreat now, the game immediately ends in a loss for you. If you press retreat later, the game remains active until your opponent ends their turn or also retreats. As a note, the game will never tell you tie if your opponent has also retreated. It will say escaped as usual, but you can see your cubes will not be subtracted at the end of the match. If you don't pay attention to the cubes after the match, you won't know if it was a tie or a loss. So this is one of those occasions where you might be only slightly behind, but your opponent is actually doubting what you have. So there is a possibility where you both hit retreat. But if you hit retreat and your opponent is thinking about retreating, they already win. If you press retreat later, you're giving yourself a chance to at least not lose that cube. And I recommend you hit retreat later, unless you're under time pressure or unless it's a guaranteed loss. And there you have it. There's some of the most basic tips I have for new players. I really appreciate you watching this video all the way through. If you've got any more tips or things like that you want to share with other viewers, please leave them in the comments down below. We might do a follow-up video to that. But as always, thank you for watching. Make sure you check out the other videos that are on screen right now if you like Marvel Snap content, and I'll catch you in the next video.